OpenAI just dropped GPT-5. Boom. Google fired back almost instantly with Gemini 3.5 Flash. And just like that, overnight, the 2026 AI landscape has completely shifted. Welcome to this explainer, everyone. Now, we are not talking about some tiny, incremental 0.1 upgrades today. No way. We're talking about two massive tech titans putting their absolute best on the table, going head-to-head for the heavyweight title of the most powerful, most useful AI model alive right now. It's a brand new era, and honestly, the stakes have literally never been higher. So here is the multi-million-dollar question that every developer, student, startup founder, and power user is asking right now. Which one is actually worth your time? And, your budget. Well, by the end of this explainer, you're going to know exactly which AI wins out in coding, in research, in writing, and in those crazy, complex, agentic workflows. More importantly, you'll know which one is built precisely for your specific needs, so you don't end up wasting hours or, honestly, thousands of dollars on the wrong tool. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's the agenda, exactly how this title fight breaks down today. First up, the 2026 AI Showdown. Second, the core upgrade breakdown. Third, practical workflows. Fourth, limitations and trade-offs. And finally, number 5, the final verdict. Let's get right to it. Section 1, the 2026 AI Showdown, introducing the contenders. Before we even look at the raw benchmarks, we got to remember that we are looking at two vastly different engineering philosophies here from OpenAI and Google. The contrast is just stark. On one side, we've got GPT-5. This is OpenAI's flagship, right? It's built explicitly for deep intelligence and multi-step coherence. This is the model they've been building toward for literally years, pushing that absolute ceiling higher in math, in deep logical reasoning, and nuanced creative writing. They basically want the smartest system in the room, period. On the other side of the ring, we have Gemini 3.5 Flash. Now, this is Google's speed weapon. It was engineered with a very clear, highly practical philosophy. They asked, what if intelligence didn't have to come at the cost of efficiency? So Google built this for blistering scale. Ultimately, this showdown is really about this fundamental choice. Are you looking for deep, coherent reasoning or blazing, unstoppable efficiency?
Section 2, the core upgrade breakdown, analyzing the stats.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how these two distinct philosophies actually translate into tangible, real-world upgrades. Let's start with OpenAI's flagship. Looking at the GPT-5 upgrades, it's crystal clear this isn't just a slightly better chatbot. No. The first major upgrade is its unmatched deep reasoning and multi-step coherence. Think about asking it to analyze a massive 50-page research paper, cross-reference those findings with current global market trends, and then output a highly structured, coherent report. Older models, they just lose the plot halfway through. But GPT-5 keeps context across those complex chains of reasoning without even flinching. Second, check out the visual upgrades. It can literally take an image and generate production-quality UI and front-end code. Picture this. A developer sketches a rough wireframe on a coffee shop napkin, snaps a quick photo of it, and boom, gets a fully functioning, styled React application back in seconds. For developers, that is an absolute game-changer. And finally, it's advanced agentic tool coordination. This means it handles multiple tool calls, manages API failures gracefully, and actually self-corrects its own code in ways previous generations simply couldn't do.
But then Google answers back with this staggering number. 1 million. 1 million tokens in a single context window. I really need to dramatically emphasize this for a second, because a context window of this massive size is borderline insane. To put that into perspective for you, 1 million tokens is roughly 10 full-length novels. Or, more practically for developers, it is an entire enterprise code base, digested in a single breath. It means you can feed Gemini 3.5 Flash sprawling technical documents, entire libraries of code, endless conversation histories, and it processes absolutely all of it without losing its place once. Expanding on that massive context window, let's look at the full suite of Gemini 3.5 Flash upgrades. Beyond just holding 1 million tokens in its memory, it offers blazing fast response times. It is noticeably faster than GPT-5, meaning if you're building UI applications, they feel completely frictionless, almost instantaneous. It also punches really hard in coding, making it highly competitive for everyday dev tasks. But perhaps its biggest edge, especially for developers and businesses automating workflows, is that third point, extraordinary cost efficiency per dollar at API scale. You are getting top-tier intelligence for a fraction of the budget. Simply put, you could process thousands of documents for the price of your morning cup of coffee. It completely changes the math on what AI features are actually profitable to build. Section 3,
Practical workflows, putting the models in the ring.
Okay, let's get intimate here and really anchor all this theory with reality. It is time to walk through some practical, step-by-step applications. Let's say you're a product manager who needs a competitive landscape analysis for a new SaaS product. In the past, man, this was 40 hours of painful, tedious work for a junior analyst. But here is how you use GPT-5 to dominate this layered, multi-step task today. Step 1. You set a highly structured brief, asking it to act as a senior market analyst and compare the top 5 tools. Step 2. You don't just take the first draft. You iterate. You push back. You ask GPT-5 to expand the differentiators section with real-world developer workflow examples. And you know what? It perfectly understands the extreme nuance you're asking for. Step 3. You ask it to summarize that incredibly deep 20-page report into a 5-bullet, 30-second executive briefing. Because GPT-5's reasoning and writing quality are just so elite, the output is coherent, beautifully structured, and immediately ready to present to your CEO.
And this brilliantly illustrates the exact opposite scenario, where Gemini is unequivocally the king. Let's say you're a developer building a high-speed automation pipeline. Step 1. You load a massive, dense, 500-page technical specification document straight into Gemini. Thanks to that 1 million token window we talked about, you don't even have to chunk it or build some complex retrieval system. You literally just drop it in. Step 2. You write a structured prompt asking it to extract every API endpoint, its parameters and error codes, and format it entirely in perfectly clean JSON. Step 3. You instantly chain that clean JSON output right into the next step of your agent pipeline, like a script that rapidly validates those endpoints on a live server. High-volume, high-speed, automated pipelines processing mountains of data instantly. That right there is the Gemini Flash Strength Zone.
Section 4. Limitations and trade-offs. Exposing the vulnerabilities.
All right, let's take a breath and adopt a slightly more measured tone here. Because as amazing as those workflows are, look, no model is perfect. To make an informed decision, you really need to know where the cracks are. Let's look at where GPT-5 falls short. That massive, deep reasoning power, it absolutely comes at a cost. First, it has a slower response latency. If you're building real-time applications, say an AI voice customer service agent, and it takes 4 full seconds to reply on the phone, the illusion is completely broken. Speed really matters there. Second, while it's great at context, its ceiling is simply smaller than Gemini's. You can't drop 10 books into it at once. And third, the budget. GPT-5 is significantly more expensive per token. If you're running massive, continuous data dumps at scale, the operational cost difference is a major pain point your finance team will absolutely feel. On the flip side, what are the vulnerabilities of Gemini 3.5 Flash? Well, the word flash is kind of both a feature and a trade-off. Because it's heavily optimized for speed, it is sometimes less thorough on complex tasks that require extended, logical deliberation across abstract problems. For instance, if you give it a really complex 10-step logic puzzle, it might rush to give you the general gist rather than meticulously calculating every single nuanced step like GPT-5 would. Second, it still trails behind GPT-5 when it comes to nuanced, long-form creative writing or mimicking highly specific professional tones. And finally, there's the ecosystem lock-in. Flash works best if you are deeply embedded inside the Google Workspace or Vertex AI cloud stack. If you're using a mixed or agnostic tech stack, well, GPT-5's independent API integrations might feel just a bit more natural to your existing workflow.
Looking at these powerful tools also brings up a much bigger, highly practical operational picture for us here in 2026. You see, both of these models power what we call agentic AI systems. These are powerful, autonomous models that don't just generate text. They independently write code, they send live web requests, they modify databases, and manage massive amounts of your company's data. You are essentially handing the AI the keys to the car. And this raises some critical, real-world questions about security, oversight, and data privacy. When an autonomous agent is running hundreds of tasks a minute, what happens when it makes a mistake? Because these systems are now capable of entirely replacing workflows that used to require whole teams of human specialists monitoring every single step, the safeguards and operational boundaries you put in place matter just as much as the model you choose to use.
Section 5. The final verdict. The judge's scorecard.
So the crucial point is which one actually takes the crown. Let's bring it all together and look closely at this final cheat sheet to wrap up this incredible showdown. If your specific use case requires deep intelligence, meaning you're doing heavy market research, complex logical reasoning, and professional quality creative writing, the winner is unequivocally GPT-5. It is the reigning king of depth. However, if your use case demands speed and scale, meaning you are running high-volume agent workflows, processing incredibly long enterprise documents, and you need highly cost-effective APIs, the winner is Gemini 3.5 Flash. It is the ultimate weapon for efficiency.
Honestly, though, the real winner of this 2026 showdown is you, the user, getting to leverage these incredibly powerful tools to build faster and smarter than ever before. I want to leave you with this final provocative question to really think about. Which one are you using right now, and what workflow genuinely surprised you? These models are pushing the boundaries of what's possible every single day, and the best way to learn is to see how others are putting them to the test out there in the real world. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Like, share, and subscribe, please, and drop a comment in comment box.